Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ingrid's World. I'm your host, Ingrid Paris Hicklin. On this show, you will meet Karen Harris, author of Happy Mother of Children. Her debut book has been successfully used in groups and personal studies. She is a podcaster, wife, mother, and has successfully homeschooled children for 24 years. Well, let's welcome this awesome lady, Karen Harris. How you
Well, thank you.
doing?
Oh, I'm well. Thank you, Ingrid. I'm glad to be here.
Well, tell our audience about yourself.
So, I am married to a wonderful man, Wes Harris, and we are at the showing of this episode. We will have been married for 25 years.
Wow. Wow. Beautiful.
I have two stepdaughters, Leslie and Wesley. And then Wes and I had 9 children together. 4 of those, speaking of homeschooling, I homeschooled all the way through and have graduated, and they are successfully, in your words, living as adults.
Oh, and it's so exciting. I have the pleasure of knowing you, and you just amaze me about how you do it with grace, and you're not flapped, but you're really talking about education, and that just gives me, chills. Tell the viewers about your education.
So I went to public school for most of my career, and then I went to Towson University in Maryland and got a degree from Towson. My plan was to be a teacher. My degree is in health education. I have a community and school health education degree.
Wow.
But then after I graduated, Wes and I had a conversation about the school of the children. And Wes had not been successful in school. He learns differently, and he was a very, very active boy, and he didn't do well in school. And we had 3 sons at that time, and he thought that maybe I would have done a better job at home. I didn't know anything about homeschooling, and I actually did not want to homeschool. I thought the children should go to school, which I called regular school, and I did homeschool.
Wow.
But he told me that I should, and so we started on this adventure, and that was over 2 decades ago. And now we have graduated the 4, and then out of the 9 children that Wes and I had 5 to go until last year, which at the showing of this episode, we had for 2 years 2 new children that my husband and I became guardians of. And so I've been homeschooling those children also.
Wow.
So now I have 7 children to go and about a decade left of homeschooling, and then I have to get a new career.
Oh, well, what you'll be is a consultant for those who are homeschooling. It sounds like you actually know exactly how to do this and do it well. So you have a new book. Tell us about your new book.
So I wrote A Happy Mother of Children really for myself. My husband and I have seen some pretty significant struggles. Our full testimony is on YouTube under A Happy Mother of Children. But the very succinct answer is that we ended up separated. He served time in prison. We've had some really extreme situations in our first decade or so of marriage. Those things contributed to me really, really struggling in my motherhood and my ability to enjoy the children. In addition, I, by nature, am not a patient or kind woman. Ironically enough, because now people always tell me, you look so happy, you're so kind and patient, which I think is kind of funny, because in my mind, I'm always struggling to be this kind, patient mother, because I still, in one sense, see myself as this woman I was 20 years ago, who struggled so desperately to be kind and patient. Sometimes even now, I'm squawking at the kids. But so I had found after about 20 years of parenting that there were things that I had done that had helped me to learn to enjoy the children more. And so that I wrote that out. I wrote it out. I fleshed it out. It took me about 6 years to write the book and actually get it written out, where I had been able to explain what I had really done that had helped me to enjoy my children more and be able to say with all honesty, I'm a happy mother of children.
So who should be really reading your book? Because it sounds like it's very inspirational.
So I wrote it for a mother. Okay, so I wrote it for a woman who says, I have children, and what can I do in my day-to-day life that would help me to smile some more, have a little bit more fun, to enjoy my relationship with my husband more. Interestingly enough, I've had some feedback from single women who had no children, and they had said that the book had actually helped them grow in their relationship with the Lord. This is a Christian book that I wrote, and I had written it for married women with children, or single moms even, and these were women who didn't have any children, and they said that it really helped them in their relationship with the Lord. I was a little surprised about that, but some of the book actually wrestles through how a person can address negative feelings, negative thoughts, and what do you do with those negative thoughts and feelings. That part can help everyone, whether you're a parent or not. So there's a whole chapter in there about what to do with feelings and emotion, and that is applicable to all people. But in general, it's written for moms, whether they're little kids or older kids.
Yes.
And also, it doesn't matter how many children. It doesn't make any difference in this book that I have a whole lot of kids. That has nothing to do with anything. Right. If you have one child, this book is just as applicable, than if you have a whole bunch.
Oh my goodness. And we're showing the pictures of your family and the different things, that they're involved in. I think one has even graduated from college already. Am I correct with that?
Yes. Our oldest son is graduating from my alma mater from Towson. So I am really, really excited about that.
Congratulations. As they
very
say,
happy.
Job well done.
I'm really happy about that.
Oh, and indeed. And so so now we have the age of COVID where people are learning virtually and parents are now teaching at home. And now we're showing pictures of you. And that's why I really wanted you to be on the show, not only to talk about your book, which is beautiful and talking from a Christian standpoint, but also that you're homeschooling and you do it with such grace. So tell us, what does a day of homeschooling look like for you?
So I do a variety of things all day long for the kids. And so my homeschool day will probably look different than someone who is doing a lot of online learning. But there are some ideas that I think everyone could apply. One thing is that children need to move. So the kids may do something at the table with me, and then I will send them outside to practice their sport. So they would spend some time doing very intense study, and then you're going to go outside and practice basketball, or you're going to practice soccer. Then you would come back in and do some other intense work, and then you're going to go switch and go practice an instrument. And then you're going to come in and do a different, we'll do some other kind of intense work, and then I'm going to read to everyone. While I read, there's a bunch of kids playing with Legos. So we are varied the day constantly with things like music, poetry, reading, memorization, Bible, math, etc. But it's a constant movement and change so that their little bodies don't get worn out, be tired. And so that helps with their attention span, and it actually helps them enjoy the day, right? It makes the day pass. And also, it helps to address the entire child. So our child is more than just one thing. So our child is a body and a soul, right? And a mind. So we're going to teach to the mind, but we're also teach to the soul. teach to the soul by, as Christians, teach the Bible, we're memorizing verses, we're singing worship songs together. We are also learning about character quality. This right now, as a family, we're learning about order, how we're to be people of order. So we're cleaning up different things in the house, talking about the rhythms, but also the idea, soul of a child. We're reading books, and I read to them books that some of the children read on their own. So I read to everyone. I have 2 sons in high school right now. I still read to everyone.
You read to
So
everyone.
I'm reading to them. Yes. So here, after you no longer take naps. So our youngest is 8. Clearly, she's not taking a nap anymore. For half an hour to an hour every day to everyone.
Wow.
Until you graduate from high school. It's called read aloud time. We all sit in the living room. I read, and the kids either play toys or they doodle or whatever activity they want to do.
Wow.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like amazing.
So
Please continue.
So reading to the kid is a way of opening up their souls to learning how other people think and feel. If you never read, then the only thing you ever know is what other people do. Sometimes you would maybe your friends' ideas would know what they're thinking because they told you. But your friends you picked. When you read a story, you're entering into the world of someone that you don't know at all. And this teaches your children part of passion. And then you get to walk all over the world, and you get to walk in someone else's shoes. And this also instills a sense of wonder and curiosity in the child. So reading here is a huge deal. And I think the more studies I've read about successful reading is always a huge part of what makes a person a successful person. So it's a big part of our day.
I mean, it's beautiful because it's almost to me like you have created a formula of how to successfully educate, children, and I love how you really have you're all in. So it's not just like, okay, you come in and from school and we'll do homework for a couple of hours, but it sounds like the whole day is structured around learning. Is that a correct interpretation, or what does your day look like?
Mm-hmm. So the whole day is structured around learning. That's true.
Wow.
Even so much at night, this idea of that our day is a day of order and having a rhythm to our day. So even after the kids leave, when they come back from whatever their sports are, there's a rhythm to even the night. And so us learning together and me teaching, and like I may call all the kids together and tell them something that I learned, or if someone else learned something, we discuss it. So as a family, this idea of constantly learning, being interested in the world, this is part of what we do. This is part of our family culture. We take trips together all the time. Like we go on field trips a lot. We've gone every state you can imagine around Maryland. We've gone as far up as New York and Niagara Falls, all the way down to Florida. We've gone all over the place, and we're going to we read all the things in the museums, and we stand around and look at the animals at the zoo, and we talk. And so as a family, I want them to be lifelong learners. I want them to be curious. I don't want my children to spend their lives staring at the screen.
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
Where someone else is just pouring into them. And there's a place for a screen. I'm on one right now, and I'm grateful for it. Right? So thankfully, the screen right now, we get to do this. So I'm not downplaying that. But there is an entire world out there with human beings. Yes. And I want my children to be able to go and use that sense of wonder and curiosity and part of compassion for people to be out in the world, learning, serving, loving, and being a part of that big, beautiful world that God, that's my heart. And that's what I've put out my entire life on their behalf.
Wow.
And I'm doing what I'm doing.
I remember also seeing that you even had mission trips going and that you brought your children on. Is that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Our church is part of a mission that supports an organization in Chihuahua, Mexico. As a result, I've been studying Spanish for the last few years. as part of my desire to grow as a person. I had found when I had a little midlife crisis that I had poured out my life for the children. And when I hit 40, I realized I wasn't sure Karen was. I knew who mom was, and I knew the homeschool lady, but I didn't know who Karen was. And I had done some studying, um, realized that it didn't work well anymore. I had read this book called The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis, started reading a hard book, and I couldn't read. I didn't know what he was talking about. I actually couldn't read a difficult book because I hadn't for so long. And I thought maybe I was in my 40s, that meant my brain didn't work well anymore. That this brain that God had given me, that worked really well when I was younger, that somehow maybe when you're older, your brain doesn't work well anymore.
Wow.
And then I went to the Franklin Museum. And in the middle of the Benjamin Franklin Museum, there's a display, everything Benjamin Franklin did by decades. And I stood there at his feet, and I looked at everything he did until he died. And I thought, I have many years ahead of me. And maybe the reason my brain doesn't work is because I haven't been using it in this way. So I told my husband my brain didn't work. He told me, don't give up and keep working at it, right? Keep reading, you're okay. So I joined a book club, and I've been reading hard books for the last 5 years. I've read a whole lot of books. One fun thing I heard a quote just recently from an old Greek. As soon as I heard the quote, "You never been as happy till the end," I realized it was from Herodotus. I only knew that because I've read Herodotus. But I couldn't read Herodotus. I was younger, but I've worked at it. And I started studying Spanish. And so I'm doing things to grow myself as a person, which of course serves my family and hopefully will eventually serve the world as my kids get older and I have the opportunity to go out and see what I end up doing, right?
Wow. Oh my goodness. So, and I love how you have a stake in this too, because you said lifelong learner. So you are also the example to your children that, mom's still educating herself. That's powerful.
Yes.
What role have you're very successful, Karen, and I feel as if when you look at success, and you look at your children, that is success. What roadblocks have you dealt with in terms of being successful?
One big roadblock is that I have 100%, well, I had bought into the American dream. And that means being successful financially. So in my mind, the only way I could have been successful is if I had made a whole lot of money. And I had learned that from the time I was young, except we've never been in that position. And so I've had to wrestle with that. I've had to wrestle with this idea that my value came with me being successful in the marketplace, except I haven't had any real jobs because I have spent over 20 years homeschooling the children. So that was one roadblock, having to reframe what does success actually mean. Trying to find some kind of balance of, I had this really large family and I have very intense obligations. And also, how much time do I spend for me without being selfish? Because I do feel that I need to have them be my priority. So my way of trying to find some kind of balance is that I jog. I take a trip every so often, the mission trip that was by myself. I've taken a kid or two with me on these mission trips, but in general, and me doing studying and being part of that book club were things that were just for me, that were selfish, but not really selfish.
Not really.
And I think the other roadblock would have been having that crisis at 40 and trying to wrestle through, what do I do with myself? And what does it mean to grow older? And I feel like I got past that and have hit a new stride, which I'm really glad about.
And it's exciting because I can see from you that you're really excited about the next steps that you're taking, and what you're involved. I mean, written a book. How many people can say that they've written a book? Oh my goodness, that's like powerful. That's hard work. But what is the key to your success? So you rethought things. What keeps you motivated?
My greatest motivation would be the fact that I'm a Christian, and I feel like because my God has done so much for me and he loves me, that when I die, for him to say, good and faithful servant, what I've been given, that I've been faithful. The most recent huge thing that I was given was that we were given 2 children.
Yes.
That here we have an opportunity, and a pastor that we knew came to us and said there was a situation with 2 children. They needed a home. And Wes and I both said, we'll take them. What a huge change in the family. To take our 5 younger kids with our 3 boys and 2 girls, and then to add a new girl and add a new boy to that mix, who had come from a completely different background, which clearly, because they need to go into a safe, secure home, had not come from a safe, secure place. Yeah. I was not prepared, and have found it to be extremely difficult. I tried, I don't know how many times, for a whole bunch of different reasons because of it. But my heart is to be faithful. Mm-hmm. My God has given so much. This is a blessed family. And so as a heart of compassion from a family that has been given so much, then our hearts need to be open, even if sometimes that's really, really hard. And it's also wonderful because I've got children who now like to read. I've gotten to see kids who got to go to the beach for the first time, got to go camping, and got to go to camp, got to learn how to swim. I got to be a part of all that. Like, I got to have that privilege. So just like so many other things in life, they're scary and sort of sad. And at the same time, they're a wonderful blessing and very fulfilling. So my heart is to be faithful. That's what.
You're amazing. So tell our viewers what's next for Karen Harris.
So I would love opportunities to talk more about my life. And that's one. My podcast, to be able to read and talk about books that sometimes I think people feel like they may not be able to read. The same way I felt that I wasn't able to read, I'd like to talk through and be able to read. Wow. So that's one thing I need to do. And I'm looking forward to more opportunities to use the gifts that I have, and also to see where all my kids end up, because it's always a bit of a surprise. They're always a bit of a surprise. Some of them I thought one thing, and then it all changed up, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought was going to happen. That's very exciting. That's the other thing.
I think you have the coolest job in the world. I do. Oh, and the way you glow, you have the right job, because you're perfect. You're a perfect mother. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Karen, and talking to us about your book and about your love of children, a happy mother of children, and indeed you are. Thanks again.
Thank you.
My inspirational quote is from Mother Teresa. It is not about how much you do, but how much love you put into what you do that counts. Thank you for watching Ingrid's World. And don't forget to friend us on Facebook or follow Ingrid's World VA on Twitter and Instagram. And if you miss an episode, please watch Ingrid's World on YouTube or at ingridsworld.org. Thank you so much for watching.